were to affect voter turnout, the weather that is, it would be along the mid-Mississippi Valley where
Election
you see
coverage
some of the heavy
from
rain
me,
and
professional.
thunderstorms. Not the severe
I know what
weather
I'm
of
talking
yesterday, but still could play a part. We hope for tonight, very mild.
Baba Booey. This nigga really think he's good.
Record high set back in 2015, and we are forecasting 82. Could easily break the record and that dry streak as well. By Thursday,
ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Yeah, that's this is just a cold front. The last few cold fronts have ended up coming in quite dry.
Okay,
so we'll see if this actually does end up delivering. Sprinkle or two late tomorrow evening. I'm not sure I buy that. But then as we get into Thursday morning, you'll see that front starts to spread a little bit of green overhead across northern Virginia, parts of northern Maryland, and then getting into the district itself around noon. And that would give us some measurable rainfall at the airport, at least a little bit, if that does verify. So showers are in the forecast for Thursday. We're also monitoring Tropical Storm Raphael.
Looking for. Of course, they got the ads up the ass.
Why do people use kayak to compare hundreds of travel sites?
Two ads. Are you kidding me?
I like to do things myself. I mean, what kind of connection would I have with the salmon if I bought it at the supermarket?
Kayak. Search one and done.
The suspect was flagged during a screening process. Police say the man also had other items in his backpack, including papers he was trying to deliver to members of Congress. Right now, investigators are still trying to figure out his intentions. We mentioned we are less than an hour away from the first polls closing in the DMV. That's Virginia. The polls close at 7 p.m. That's in about 50 minutes. In D.C. and Maryland, voters have until 8 p.m. As long as you are in line before those times, again, I repeat, you can be in line and you will still be able to vote, but you got to get in line before those polls close. Fox 5 has you covered with non-stop live local coverage until midnight. Grab your phone and scan that QR code on your screen to get our Fox Local app. You can also find more information on fox5dc.com. We're just getting started on this historic election night. Coming up, we're checking in with the tight race in Maryland's 6th Congressional District.
Plus, that all-important Senate race in the Free State. We have teams at both the Hogan and also Brooks campaign watch parties. Stick around for all the latest election 2024 coverage right here on Fox 5.
Got another advertisement.
Unsurprisingly, red counties. Sure. Andrew.
Yeah, and Austin, of course, we mentioned the gubernatorial contest there in Indiana, in the Hoosier State. I mentioned Mike Braun. Remember, he's currently the Republican senator from Indiana. He wanted to do and try his hand at the governor's mansion there. We're getting results in around 4% of estimated votes counted for the governor's race in Indiana. Braun at 58%. His Democratic challenger, Jennifer McCormick, at 39% right now. Braun with a pretty sizable margin over McCormick. It's still early, though. But interesting, this opened up a seat kind of in the Senate for Republicans in Indiana, though Jim Banks, he tried his hand at Senate politics, and it's seemingly going well for him tonight as well.
What I'm talking about.
And again, I'm pulling up Allen County behind me here. This is where Fort Wayne is, Andrew. Just to illustrate some of what we're seeing in these bigger counties. So far, this is where the majority of the votes have come in. 36,000 for Braun, 34,000 for McCormick. But that's only 5% of the votes tallied so far. There's not too many competitive governor races so far in this cycle. In fact, the only competitive one that we expect, and by the way, I should introduce our map of all the governor's races around the country. We are, of course, following North Carolina closely. That's an interesting one with Mark Robinson. We do want to bring you results as soon as polls close in North Carolina. That'll be an interesting one to watch for. The real only competitive governorship that's happening this cycle is going to be in New Hampshire. We're going to be following those results closely. That red that you see in Indiana behind me, not a shocker.
All right, Austin, thanks so much. In the meantime here, we are anticipating some type of press conference there out of Philadelphia. We don't know entirely when that's going to begin, but I want to tell you why this is happening. This is what precipitated it earlier this afternoon. Donald Trump there posting on Truth Social saying a lot of talk about massive cheating in Philadelphia. He says law enforcement coming. Now, Philadelphia election officials and the district attorney in Philly, Larry Krasner, are weighing in on this. Krasner says this: my response to Trump's unfounded allegation of cheating in Philly's general election. He says the only talk about massive cheating has come from one of the candidates, Donald J. Trump. He says there's no factual basis whatsoever within law enforcement to support this wild allegation there from Krasner. Going on to say, we have invited complaints and allegations of improprieties all day. If Donald J. Trump has any facts to support his wild allegations, we want them now, right now. We are not holding our breath here. So, want to just make sure we got that in.
What's up, guys? It's Quandale Dingle here.
Conference to begin there
I apologize for that.
Philly. In the meantime, here, let's bring to the conversation yet another one of these guests, experts, analysts who will be joining us throughout the course of the evening to help us make sense of some of these storylines. Our friend, though, as well, former Biden campaign advisor, and that's Rhett Buttle. He joins me. Rhett, I wanted to ask, too, and thanks for being with us. Happy election night. Rhett, just your response and reaction to what we just brought our viewers happening in Philadelphia here. Do you think that's somewhat of a bellwether of how the night's going to go as far as rhetoric, as far as messaging?
Well, I hope so. But I think, we are expecting that, President Trump will, as he has always done, put out potentially incorrect things that are happening. But at this stage of the game, it's really important to know that this has been a very safe and accessible election. Everyone's votes have been very secure. America has the most safe and secure election system in the world.
I don't know about
we saw that last cycle. In previous cycles where the Trump administration had brought forward, allegations of fraud, all of those, the vast majority of them were struck down by independent judges. So, we may continue to see some of this rhetoric. I don't think that it's helpful right now. We need to make sure that as polls are open, people continue to get to the polls. The most important thing is that people be able to know that their vote is safe and secure and it's accessible to everyone.
So, Rhett, I want to talk about the Harris campaign and where the Harris campaign stands right now. Last night on CNN, a senior Harris campaign advisor, David Plouffe, said this to Aaron Burnett, that he believes they can win all 7 battlegrounds. He says they can, not that they will. He believes that, though. Is that feasible right now? Why is this race so close between Harris and Trump?
Well, look, we always knew that this would be a close election. That has been heavily predicted. The polls have been very close. But the vice president has said over and over she is asking for every American's vote, and she's leaving no stone unturned. Yesterday, she was, crossing across Pennsylvania from the top of the bottom of the state, talking to voters about her plan to lower cost and what she'll do as president of the United States to bring, down the cost of groceries, to make the cost of housing more affordable. And I think that is a message that is really resonating, not just in Pennsylvania, but in places like Nevada and Wisconsin. And so, I think the campaign is really focused on bringing the message to working families about how they're going to make their lives better. And I think that that's why you heard David Plouffe talk about last night. All of these states are within the realm of possible.
So I want to talk also, though, about this narrative that has been front and center throughout the course of the campaign cycle. How Harris has had to redefine herself, especially in relation to President Joe Biden. Joe Biden withdrew from the ticket in July, and Harris allegedly, you can argue, charted her own course or did not chart her own course. Do you see any Biden drag in some of these early exit polls right now? That has been a key feature, how she would distinguish herself from Biden. We know this race is going to be decided among independents. A lot of their eggs into that voting constituency here. Will it matter?
Look, Dobbs is very important, and a woman's right to choose is a key part of this campaign. The vice president has been clear, but there's a broader narrative here, right? This is about freedom. Do you want a candidate that supports freedom? If so, you support Kamala Harris. Do you want a candidate that will take us forward and continue to grow the economy? If so, you want Kamala Harris. Do you want a candidate who's more focused on bringing the country together, reaching across the aisle with people like Liz Cheney, for example? Then you want Kamala Harris. I think all Donald Trump has offered is tax breaks for his, buddies who run really large businesses, and a lot of divisiveness. And I think a lot of folks, that includes suburban women, but also include many constituencies, right? We talk to everyone, are tired of division, and they really want to move forward. They want to feel joy. They want to feel optimistic about America. And I think Kamala Harris is a new generation. She's a new kind of candidate.
But just lastly, what else are you watching for tonight? You have such a pulse on all of this. I'm sure you're watching a lot of metrics.
Yeah, look, I think, early on in the night, we're going to see Kamala Harris doing quite well and Democrats doing right well. The reality is we will see some of the southern states be called early, and those are states that generally will be favorable to Donald Trump. But I think it is likely that we probably won't know the complete results of the election tonight. We'll have a better idea, I think, early in the morning around 5 or 6 a.m. about where Pennsylvania is headed. We have to remember that, until all the ballots are in, Pennsylvania can't start counting. And then there are several days where they can do this thing called the curing of the ballot. Nevada also has rules where ballots can, still come in if they're marked by mail for 4 or 5 days. So I think, what we'll see is we'll see a strong night for the vice president in the beginning. Maybe we'll start to see some, tipping over to the Republican side. But I really think over the next few days, you'll see the vice president, as all of the ballots are coming in, begin to take the lead in states out across the West.
All right. Kentucky as well. Remember, we're tracking the...
Yeah, some people are looking at particular...
I'm down with this. I don't know if Donald Trump or Kamala Harris is going to win, but you should probably follow my YouTube and Kick channel for the future of democracy. That's me. So yeah, probably do that. Thank you for watching.